Hi, my name is Elise Hudson, and I'm so excited to be here with you today to share two of my favorite recipes. But before we get started, I wanted to kind of give you my background. I'm currently a field marketing manager at Adobe. What that means is that I help put on events, whether it's lunch and learns, brunch and learns, trade shows, conferences, roundtables, anything you name it. And while that's my normal 9 to 5 job, outside of work, I really enjoy cooking. And now that's kind of blended into what I like doing at work as well. Because when I'm looking at food for events, I'm thinking about what are people gonna enjoy, and knowing that food is a big part of the experience. If you have food at an event that isn't great, you're gonna remember that. If you have food that's just okay, you won't really remember it. And if you have food that's really great, it's gonna be an experience that you remember. Well, how this factors into my 5 p.m. to 9 a.m., I have always loved to cook and bake. When I was younger, I used to help my mom and grandma in the kitchen, whether it was making our great grandma's cinnamon rolls at Thanksgiving or the rolls, and let me tell you, they are incredible. There's nothing like smelling those fresh out of the oven. While cooking and baking with my mom and my grandma in the kitchen got me interested into pursuing this passion, I also did cooking camps when I was younger. We would make things from creme brulee, souffles, different chili recipes, different spring roll wraps, anything, you name it. And I loved being able to be in the kitchen and just get creative with it. At one point in my life, I even thought about going to culinary school, but I had to make the choice of whether or not I wanted to have the college experience or go to culinary school. And so I decided to go to school and still pursue my passion for cooking on the side. One of my favorite things about cooking is that it really gives you a chance to be creative. And for me, it's a nice outlet when there's a lot of other things going on. I can simply go into the kitchen, cook something or bake something, and forget about everything else. And I love getting to see the end result. Similar to how when an event comes together at work, seeing all that hard work that you put in to get the event to where it is, and then seeing that end result come to life. It's the greatest feeling. The recipe that I'm gonna share with you today is a blueberry muffin recipe out of the Breakfast Cookbook by Alyce Miller. Coincidentally, we have very similar names. My CSM Alyce sent this to me a few weeks ago after seeing how much I enjoyed brunch. My coworker Esther and I, as part of our field marketing job, hosted a series of brunch and learns last year. And I just had to share this recipe with you all today. For the first part of this recipe, I'm gonna preheat the oven to 375. After preheating the oven, I'm gonna line these muffin tins with these liners that I got at the store. Now that I have each of my muffin tins lined, I'm ready to start. For the first part of this recipe, you're supposed to combine lemon zest and sugar. So I'm gonna go ahead and grate this lemon that I've already washed. Finish grating my lemon, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of the lemon zest to the mixing bowl. Next, I'm going to add half a cup of sugar to the bowl. And then you're supposed to rub the lemon zest into the sugar to really let the lemon oil infuse into the sugar. And you can smell when it's being rubbed in. You just smell the amazing scent of the lemon. Now that I've finished incorporating the lemon zest, you can see that it has this pale yellow color, and that'll let you know that the sugar and the lemon are done being combined. Now the next step after combining the sugar and the lemon zest is to add 4 tablespoons of butter. Now I've left this butter out for a little bit so it can start coming to room temperature. And what you're going to want to do is cut the cube, it's about in half for 4 tablespoons. And it's easier for the butter to incorporate into the sugar and the lemon zest, I'm going to further cut this into little cubes. This will help the butter easily incorporate. As you can see here, I've now combined the cubed butter with the sugar and the lemon zest. Now I'm going to take the hand mixer and beat it all together until it has come out at a smooth texture. Once the sugar and butter are combined, you're going to want to scrape the sides of the bowl to make sure that everything's incorporated down into the bottom. After scraping the butter, sugar, and lemon zest off the sides, you can see it all incorporated down at the bottom now. This is the consistency that you should be looking for when the butter and the sugar have been creamed together. Finish creaming the butter and sugar, you're going to measure out a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm gonna add it in to this container. And then you're gonna crack 1 egg and add it in here as well. Just wash my hands very quickly after cracking that egg, but the next step of this is to whisk the egg yolk and the vanilla to combine. Now I'm going to add the egg and the vanilla mixture to the butter, sugar, and lemon zest. And you're going to want to whisk this until it's combined. After adding in the egg and vanilla to the butter, sugar, and lemon zest, you can see what it looks like after it has been combined. You're now going to measure out in a separate bowl 1 cup of flour. And I'm going to use a knife to make sure that this is nice and equal. I'm using a 1/2 cup, so I'm going to do this twice. After adding the flour, you're going to measure out a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm measuring over the measuring cup because I want to make sure that I'm not going to add too much salt to this recipe. And again, just use your finger and level it out. Once you've added the salt, you're going to measure out 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Since I'm already using the 1/4 teaspoon, I'm going to do this 4 times. And last one. Now I'm going to whisk together the flour, salt, and baking powder mixture just until it's combined. I'm going to add the flour, baking soda, and salt mixture to the eggs, vanilla, butter, and lemon zest. I'm going to alternate between this and then adding a tablespoon of milk for a total of 6 tablespoons of milk. One thing to note when you're adding the flour here, make sure you start on a low setting, otherwise you're going to end up being absolutely covered in flour. After combining that first set of flour, I'm going to add in my first tablespoon of whole milk. And then whisk to combine. Now I'm back to alternating between the dry mixture and the milk until it is fully combined. Once I finish adding in the dry and the wet mixtures, you're just going to want to make sure that you scrape all of the sides of the bowl just to make sure that you got every last bit. You can also scrape off the hand mixer just to make sure that you got everything as well. Now I've measured out 1 cup of blueberries and pre-washed them, and I'm going to add this into here. It's very important that you don't use the hand mixer for this portion, and instead you're going to want to fold these in. This will make sure that the blueberries are intact. Now you can see what the mixture looks like, and just combining in these blueberries to make sure that there's a little bit of blueberry in every single bite. Now you can see what it looks like combined with the blueberries. One thing to note here, if you don't have fresh blueberries, you can easily substitute dry blueberries. I've even thought about testing out orange zest and doing cranberries instead. This is just what the recipe called for. I'm going to use this measuring cup to measure out the blueberry muffins into the tins. Now you're going to want to fill it about halfway full because the muffins will rise up when you bake them. And here folks, the muffin tin liners like to move around. Making sure I get an equal amount. Perfect. I'm going to repeat this for the rest of the 11 tins. Finish adding muffin mix to each of the tins. I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar on top. And keep doing this until you've covered each of the muffins. Now I'm gonna stick the muffins in the oven. They're gonna bake for about 30 minutes, but I would check them around 25 minutes just to make sure that they don't get over baked. The one thing that you're gonna wanna look out for is when you stick a toothpick in, it should come out clean. It's been about 25 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and check the muffins. Now I'm gonna use the end of this toothpick to just poke in here and see. And it came out clean, so these are done. I just finished pulling the muffins out of the oven, and you're gonna wanna let them rest for 5 minutes inside the tins, and then you can take them out. My little sous chef is here assisting. I've gone ahead and taken the muffins out of the tins. One thing to note about this recipe and what's really great is that you can stick these in the freezer and just reheat them whenever you like. This will make them last longer. Now it's really hard to not want to have one of these as soon as they come out of the oven, but make sure you let them cool off a little bit before you try it. And take a little piece here. So good. The second recipe that I'm going to share with you today is our family's pilaf recipe. Now this is one of my absolute favorites. We got this recipe when my grandpa passed away, and someone had actually brought this recipe to the celebration of life that we had for him. The reason I love this recipe so much is it's just one of those comfort foods. It's something that we have for the special holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and to be honest, we could probably make it several times a week as well. It's fairly easy to make, and it's something that you could try making during quarantine because most of the ingredients you should have at home already. The first step of this recipe is to preheat the oven to 425. You're going to want to use a pot about this size and something that has a lid. The lid's super important because it'll cook on the stove with the lid on, and then you'll put it in the oven with the lid on as well. I'm going to turn the burner up till about medium, and then I'm going to add in half a cube of butter and going to melt it in the pot. Once the butter's mostly melted, you're going to add in some angel hair pasta. You just need enough to coat the bottom of the pan. You're going to want to break this into smaller pieces. And then you're going to stir to combine. The whole point of this is to brown the noodles a little bit. While the butter and the noodles are browning, I'm also going to add in 1 teaspoon of garlic salt. You can see what the noodles look like with the butter and the garlic salt as they start to brown. Just make sure that you're stirring so it doesn't burn the bottom of the pan. Now that the noodles have started to brown, I'm adding in 2 cups of rice. This is my second cup. I'm going to proceed to add 40 ounces of chicken broth. This is the first 16 ounces. Finished adding the 40 ounces of chicken broth. Now we're going to let this come to a hard boil. Once it comes to a hard boil, then we're going to turn off the heat and cover it and let it sit for 10 minutes. Now that it has come to a roaring boil, you're going to go ahead and place the lid on top and turn off the stove. I'm turning off the stove. I'm going to put the lid on top. This needs to sit here for 10 minutes. The last step of this recipe is to put the pot in the oven for 20 minutes. For removing the lid, you're just going to want to mix it around and let everything come together. It smells so good. This pilaf recipe is really great to have with any kind of meat. We traditionally do something that's grilled, whether it's chicken, steak, lamb. We eat a lot of lamb in our family since we're Basque, but it's really great with anything that's grilled. You can also roast meat. Along with the grilled meat and the pilaf, we usually have some sort of salad. Depends on the season, but we like to incorporate fresh fruits or veggies into it, and it's really great in combination with that. I hope you enjoy our family's recipe of pilaf. Thank you for tuning in today and listening to the 2 recipes I had to share, the blueberry muffins and the pilaf. I hope you enjoy these recipes. Alyce will be sending out the recipes so that you can try these at home. Thank you.